Hey guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. As always, I'm Dean Harris with Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey man, doing great.
Good. We are giving you this podcast, guys, to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on YouTube, Spotify. There's the videos on Facebook and everywhere else. So please like and subscribe there. Show sponsors are listed at the bottom of the page there. We cannot be anywhere without these guys. CrestCore Property Management, Corlin Financial, Will Griffin and Griffin Clift Everton Mashmeyer. We've got Local Title and Triumph Construction. There we go. So for the users that are listening on the Spotify and the podcast, we'll make sure I get those out too.
Good.
Zoom calls. We are having our first Zoom call of 2024
Awesome.
on Thursday at 2 o'clock. If you'd like to be part of that Zoom call, shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com, and I'll get you invited and added into that. Deal of the week.
Come on.
I've got a deal of the week. 4732 Royal Pine. It's in 38128. It's in Raleigh. 1,222 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 1 bath. Listed currently for $119,900. Now, this is 4 bedroom. It's Section 8 available. That can hit up to about $1,400 in rent out there. Market rent's $1,150. This is vacant, and you can apply now for the MHA Section 8 voucher tenants. That'll hit about $1,400. It's in great condition. It's ready for a tenant now. If you have any questions, dean@crestcore.com. 4732 Royal Pine, 38128, 1,222 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 1 bath. It's listed for $119,900. And again, if you apply for that Section 8, you can probably get about $1,400 in rent. So great news. Okay, today we are going to dive into a topic that I get a lot of questions about, duplexes. Why they struggle, why they are successful. We're going to talk about duplexes today in Memphis. I own duplexes. You own duplexes. You've owned them a little bit longer than I have, but I have sold many duplexes. So I have clients that are all over. We have a couple of notes here, but really I just want to kind of shoot back and forth some of our kind of thoughts and ideas on them. I have always talked to investors here about duplexes not in the most positive light. When they were developing our city back in the 50s and 60s, we did not have a land shortage. We did not have a reason to compact housing into a short space for as many people as we could. We could build out. A lot of cities in the South are like that. So our city didn't build a ton of duplexes. We have some, but we don't have pockets and pockets and zip codes and streets upon streets of just full of duplexes. Now we do have some. I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah.
You might be a little bit more used to dealing with a good duplex or not. From my experiences, the duplexes I own are in good areas, so I can't really speak personally on, hey, they haven't, been great. I have seen my client base struggle with duplexes in certain areas.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thought of owning a duplex is mesmerizing.
Yeah.
It's two for the price of one.
Yeah.
1 roof, 2 tenants.
Yeah.
And so I think that's alluring. Everybody wants to experiment, try it, think about it. But the problem is, like you said, it's totally hit or miss.
Big time. And you're not even, even if on the hits, you've got some things to consider.
Yes.
One of my notes here was your CapEx expenditures are double. And for the most part, I mean, you got to have 2 AC units and 2 water heaters and 2 everything. Now, there's 1 roof. So I guess that is one thing that, maybe can go for both. It's usually a bigger roof, right? Because it's a bigger, property. But those are some of the things to think about, like, making sure that you're running full numbers. Now, some of the negatives that I've found or some of the things that I've seen people struggle with are the lower end ones, the 600 to 650 rentals that your gross rent's $1,300, right? Okay, that sounds exciting for a $120,000 property. That sounds exciting. It's like, oh man, I'm getting better than the 1% rule.
You better be on a duplex.
You better get way over it. So, what you really have is 2 $600 tenants or 650 tenants in a 2-1 in a decent area, but there's still $650 tenants in Memphis people struggle with those. It's very difficult to manage a bunch of, or even 1 or 2 650 tenants.
Yeah. I think you have to be very selective. And
Yeah.
the ones that I've had that are the best, I mean, my best one is 1,500 plus per side.
Okay. So
You know, it not 1,500 total, 750 a side.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on that. You know, and in that scenario, it's the only duplex in the neighborhood.
In your scenario?
Yes. In that particular scenario, that's a great one.
Yeah.
You know, my experience with duplexes that work well are the ones that are either they're kind of the lone duplex in the neighborhood, or, you know, it's a couple of duplexes scattered throughout. What you and I have seen, the worst experiences we've ever had are with the duplex neighborhood. It is a neighborhood full of duplexes, and there's several in Memphis.
Yeah. And some investors, Douglas, have the appetite for this. So I want to be careful because I want to name a couple streets here, and I'm going to talk about, because we've sold some, and guys are having some success with it.
Yeah.
What I want to caution you on is that some of these things you don't think about when you come into a duplex. You get what you just said. You get the bright, shiny lights of 2 tenants and one, you know, 1 payment, and that's great. But Dobbins Ferry, Sumner's Wells, Apple Blossom. Those are some streets and some areas, and those are, I think, all of those in 38118. Is Apple Blossom 38118?
Maybe 115.
Yeah, but I know Dobbins Ferry.
It's a challenge because, in my experience, they're all duplexes. It's like a large multifamily or apartment complex. It's like a big apartment complex.
100%.
With sometimes it doesn't have great parking, and oftentimes in those neighborhoods you will have, due to trash or set outs, you know, if there are evictions and they set stuff out on the street, it sits there and because it's a total rental neighborhood. It's not like house hacking duplexes.
No.
We're not talking about house hacking duplexes. We're talking about a big multifamily type of environment. And it's just a challenge. It's just really hard. Some people have made it okay, but I've seen more people struggle than succeed.
That's what I'll say.
I've seen in those areas.
And I've sold in that areas, right? And I've sold those houses, and I have investors that are making that work, but they understand what they're doing, and they've factored in all of these things with it. I think more of them are local, right? Your local investors handle some of these $607 tenants better. Now, but that again is just really my only caution, like what you just said. It's the streets that you get. Every house looks the same.
Everyone looks exactly the same.
They're built the same. They were all, that's kind of when they developed, they just said, hey, we're just going to throw a bunch of duplexes out here. So I'm not saying I would not buy a duplex over there. What I would do is get it for the right price and make sure that you understand some of these things that we talked about. Make sure you know you're going to have, it makes sense after I say it out loud. I feel like I'm talking to a 3-year-old, but you got 2 HVAC units, you got 2 water heaters, you got things you just need to factor in with your CapEx expenditures.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to talk about there. It's like in those neighborhoods where it is a duplex neighborhood, it's like a large multifamily, but the only difference is, a big difference is that you have multiple owners. So because you have multiple owners, you have different treatment of the property. Some are fixed up, some need some TLC, and on and on. So again, it just becomes a challenge. Whereas in a duplexes scattered here or there throughout a neighborhood, you've got a lot better chance of succeeding because you can make it your own, and there's not necessarily a rental neighborhood.
That's right.
And it just, in my experience, goes a lot better if you're looking for a duplex.
Yeah.
I mean, you can help them find that because there's always
some of the
they're
areas,
oftentimes available. They're harder to find, but they're oftentimes available.
Some of the areas where we have success with them are in Midtown.
Yeah,
those are the higher end. Those would be more expensive. I know Bartlett, the older part of Bartlett, 134's got a slew of duplexes.
Yeah, I know somebody bought one in Collierville recently. There's some in Berkeley. Again, there's some. CrestCore Property Management Show sponsor has managed some in Chickasaw Gardens.
Yeah.
Which is the highest end as it gets in Memphis.
That's right. So I'm not telling you they can't work and they can't happen. What I'm trying to tell you is that, if you're looking for a low entry point or you're looking for an easy, this is, the $600 tenants on each side are not the route to go, in my opinion. Again, I want to be careful because I know there's investors that are listeting that have those. And well, I'm making this work.
No, and I'm as you and I talk about, I've got them.
Yeah.
So I'm making it work.
Right.
Have I sold duplexes? Absolutely. Again, we talked about this before. It's like, what do I sell? The losers, the ones that are hard. I keep the winners. I thought about when you have duplexes, one thing that can be a challenge when you have multiple duplexes together or a couple together is if you have two duplexes side by side, or let's just talk with one duplex. If you have one duplex, sometimes it can be a challenge that you might not think about is that if you do something for one tenant, then all of a sudden the other tenant is going to expect or at least request, that you do that.
Because they're going to talk.
You're going to come see each other going in and out, even if they don't know each other. And not to mention if in some of these areas, if you have two duplexes side by side, and you put now you got four, or you got, again, you're going to have that. And I have seen that when you put a roof on one, or you fix the window or the shutters or the paint or whatever.
Sounds like you got some personal history.
Experience with that. Yes. And you see it and you do it. And so again, you don't necessarily have to do it, but you have to be ready to field that request.
Yeah.
So
I guess in a nutshell, this one is going to be one of our shorter, podcasts. I just wanted to kind of get the word out. I've had a lot of questions this week and last week, especially about duplexes. And you guys know with these podcasts, I come in and whatever we're talking about and whatever I feel during the week is what I come here and discuss.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of get, my thoughts out and our feelings out on duplexes and why not. And
yes,
again, not a ton of big highlights to make sure of. It's just a few things that you got to recognize that your location in this city for a duplex is extremely important. The amount of what the tenant is paying, the market rent for each side of that duplex is extremely important.
Yes.
We're cautioning you on those lower end tenants. So, and really, that's about it. I would focus on 2 or 3 areas: Midtown, Bartlett, maybe some in Raleigh if you're catching some out there.
Yeah, but eyes wide open in those other places. Eyes wide open in areas where it's the duplexes are concentrated.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's my big red caution flag.
The concentration
of duplexes. I mean, one time we bought, this is years ago, we bought 15 duplexes on a cove.
Oh yeah.
So 30. I mean, it's like a little small apartment complex, and you're like, this is really sweet. It was a challenging area, and one of the guys blew up his duplex.
What do you mean blew it up?
He had like some type of oxygen tank, and it literally blew up the duplex.
Look at that.
And so not only did he displaced himself, he displaced the person next door. Thankfully, nobody was injured.
But
we had to tear the house down. And so now it's like you have 14 duplexes and 15, and we can't sell the one because who's going to come in and build?
Have I not heard that story of a duplex blowing up?
It blew up, literally. It was awful. But thankfully nobody was hurt. But it's just tough when you get duplexes all concentrated together, man. Be forewarned. I mean, you heard it here.
That's exactly right. All right. Appreciate you guys listening in and tuning in to the duplex stories. I'm glad here at the very end we got one about blowing up. That's quite the story. If you guys have any questions on duplexes, if you're buying or selling anything here in town, let me know. Dean@CrestCore.com. And we'll see you next week.